Imagine trying to hear the voice of a Neanderthal, our ancient relatives whose very appearance is still a subject of debate, let alone their speech. But here's the fascinating part. There's compelling evidence suggesting that Neanderthals were capable of more than just simple grunts and groans. They might have had a complex language system. And this is the part most people miss when picturing these prehistoric humans. You might have come across the viral clip from the BBC series Neanderthal, The Rebirth, which dives into the intriguing, high-pitched voice. Of course, this is just one interpretation among many, and scientists have approached the question from various angles. The old stereotype of Neanderthals as brutish, heavy-browed cavemen is now widely discredited. In fact, a wealth of research shows that Neanderthals were intelligent, culturally rich, and emotionally nuanced beings, much like us. They weren't just primitive creatures, but sophisticated hominins with complex social lives. We know that Neanderthals had cognitive abilities comparable to modern humans. Their brains were about the same size, or even larger, though shaped differently. This suggests they had the necessary brain structures to process language. In 2021, anthropologists digitally reconstructed Neanderthal skull bones and discovered that these hominins could both produce and perceive speech sounds similar to ours. Their hearing range, between 4 and 5 kilohertz, closely matches that of modern humans, implying they could understand and generate complex vocal communication. Some researchers have taken a broader, multidisciplinary approach, combining insights from anatomy, genetics, cognition, culture, and environment. All these fields converge on a fascinating conclusion. Neanderthals likely spoke in ways not too different from us, though with some subtle distinctions. Antonio Benitez Borracho, a linguist at the University of Seville, suggests in a preprint paper that Neanderthal languages were probably similar to ours, but less structurally complex and less flexible in function. For example, their syntax might have been simpler, with fewer grammatical categories, like conjunctions or determiners, and their range of distinct sounds possibly more limited. But here's where it gets controversial. We still don't know exactly when complex language first emerged in human history. Estimates vary wildly, from as recent as 50,000 years ago to over 2 million years ago, around the time the genus Homo first appeared. Since Neanderthals lived roughly between 400,000 and 40,000 years ago, it's possible they inhabited a world where fully developed language was still evolving. What remains clear, however, is that Neanderthals were far from silent or simple-minded. They were active participants in a rich social and cultural landscape. Whether their voices carried a higher pitch or their grammar was less intricate than ours, their communication was undoubtedly filled with meaning, emotion, and connection. So what do you think? Could Neanderthals have spoken in ways closer to us than we imagine, or were their voices truly alien? Share your thoughts. This debate is far from settled.